Hello, and welcome back to Dimmer, the mental health podcast where we adjust the light on life's challenges, turning down the harsh glare of stress and turning up the calm. In our last episode, we explored the signs of burnout, the exhaustion, the lack of motivation, the trouble focusing, the feelings of detachment, and the physical and emotional toll it can take. If you listened to that episode, you may have found yourself nodding along, recognizing pieces of your own life in what we talked about. And if you did, you might be asking, okay, so what now? What do I do if I'm already burnt out? That's exactly what today's episode is about, how to cope with burnout. We'll talk through practical strategies you can use, not quick fixes or one-size-fits-all solutions, but small, gentle steps that can help you move toward recovery. Burnout doesn't go away overnight, but healing is possible. Let's walk through this together. Before we dive into the how, let's spend a moment on the why. Burnout is not something you can just push through by working harder or by telling yourself to get over it. In fact, ignoring burnout often makes it worse. Left unchecked, it can deepen into depression, damage your physical health, and harm your relationships. Think of burnout like running a marathon without water. At first, you keep going because you think you're strong, but eventually your body gives out. Coping with burnout is like finally stopping to drink, rest, and change your pace. Without that, you can't finish the race. So coping matters because it's the difference between continuing to function in survival mode and actually reclaiming your life. The very first step is to acknowledge that you are burnt out. This sounds simple, but it's not. Many of us live in denial. We say things like, "I'm just tired," or "I just need to work harder," or "everyone feels like this." We minimize our feelings because admitting burnout feels like admitting weakness. But here's the truth. Naming it doesn't make you weak, it makes you aware. And awareness is the doorway to change. Take a quiet moment and ask yourself honestly, am I burnt out? If your gut says yes, let that be valid. Let that be real. The second step is rest. And perhaps even more importantly, learning to rest without guilt. Burnout often convinces us that resting is wasting time. You might lie in bed thinking about all the things you should be doing. You might go for a walk, but feel guilty for not working. But rest is not wasted time. Rest is fuel. Imagine trying to drive your car without gas. You wouldn't call filling the tank a waste. Your body and mind work the same way. So give yourself permission to rest. Sleep when you're tired. Take breaks during the day. Let yourself do something unproductive, like watching a silly show or listening to music, simply because it brings joy. That joy is part of recovery. Burnout lives in the body as much as in the mind. That's why a powerful way to cope is to reconnect with your body. This doesn't have to mean running marathons or lifting heavy weights. It can be as simple as stretching in the morning, taking a slow walk outside, or doing gentle yoga. Even breathing exercises can make a difference. Here's one you can try right now. Breathe in slowly through your nose for 4 counts, hold for 4, breathe out through your mouth for 4. And pause for 4. Do that a few times and notice how your shoulders drop, your jaw relaxes, and your mind clears just a little. When you care for your body, you're sending your brain the message, I am safe, I am cared for. That signal helps reverse the stress response. One of the biggest causes of burnout is saying yes to too many things. Too many projects, too many responsibilities, too many demands on your time and energy. Coping with burnout requires learning to set boundaries. That means saying no when you need to, or not right now. It means protecting your evenings, your weekends, your personal time. This can feel uncomfortable, especially if you're used to being the reliable one, the person who always helps. But every yes to someone else is also a no to yourself, and you deserve to say yes to your own well-being sometimes. Remember, boundaries aren't walls to keep people out. They're guardrails to keep you on the road of health. Burnout thrives in isolation. It tells you that no one will understand, that you should keep it to yourself. But reaching out for support is one of the most healing steps you can take. Support can look different for different people. It might mean talking to a friend and being honest about how drained you feel. It might mean opening up to your family. Or it might mean seeking professional help, a therapist, a counselor, a doctor. There's no shame in needing support. In fact, think about it. If your best friend came to you and said, "I feel burnt out," would you judge them? Or would you listen, support, and care? You deserve the same kindness. Another powerful way to cope is to reconnect with meaning in your life. Burnout often strips away our sense of purpose. Work feels meaningless, hobbies feel empty, and we lose sight of why we're doing anything at all. To heal, we need to slowly reintroduce small sparks of meaning. This could be revisiting an old hobby, painting, music, gardening. It could be volunteering for a cause you care about. It could be journaling about your values and what truly matters to you. Even asking yourself, what's one small thing today that gave me a sense of meaning, can begin to shift your perspective. Finally, coping with burnout means simplifying your life where possible. Look at your commitments. Which ones truly matter and which ones are draining your energy without giving much back? Can you delegate, postpone, or drop some of them? Look at your routines. Can you make mornings simpler by preparing clothes or meals ahead of time? Can you reduce decision fatigue by streamlining choices? Simplifying doesn't mean giving up. It means creating space. Space for rest, for healing, for joy. As we move through these strategies, I want to pause and remind you of something important. Coping with burnout is not about perfection. You don't need to implement all these steps at once. You don't need to turn your life around overnight. Burnout took time to build, and recovery will take time too. The goal is not to fix yourself instantly, but to care for yourself consistently. Even the smallest changes, one boundary, one nap, one honest conversation, can begin to shift the direction of your life. And please, be gentle with yourself. Burnout can make you feel like you're failing, but in reality, it's proof that you've been pushing yourself far beyond what's humanly sustainable. That's not failure. That's being human. So, how do we cope with burnout? We acknowledge it, we rest without guilt, we reconnect with our bodies, we set boundaries, we seek support, we rediscover meaning, and we simplify our lives where possible. None of this is about quick fixes. It's about slowly adjusting your dimmer, turning down the harsh glare of stress, and finding a softer, steadier light to live by. As you reflect on today's episode, I invite you to ask yourself, what's one gentle step I can take this week to care for myself? It doesn't have to be big, it just has to be real. Thank you so much for listening to Dimmer. If this episode resonated with you, please follow the podcast and share it with someone who might need it. And in our next episode, we'll go even deeper into self-care habits, the daily practices that keep burnout from returning. Until then, take care of yourself, remember that healing begins with awareness, and never forget, you deserve rest, peace, and joy.